This is part 3 of the summer school presentation for the U3A on Living in a Connected World 1. And in this video we look at malware and viruses, security, how you stay safe online, backups and maintenance. So you're finally online. What sort of things can you do online? For email, if you are online, then you have an account with your internet service provider. That will provide you with an email option. And what you need to look at is maybe getting an email account that is in the cloud. So Gmail, Hotmail, Yahoo, something that you can access wherever you are, because with your ISP, their spam protection is not terribly good. It's difficult to access them from everywhere. Even their web services aren't too good. If you leave that ISP, then you have to get a new email address and you'll have to notify everybody about your new email address. Every service you ever register your email address with, such as iTunes and eBay and Amazon, remain with that email. So you've got to be careful which ones you use. You can access your email from anywhere with an online account. You can also get the protocol called IMAP, I-M-A-P, where email is available on your PC and on the server. The ISP mail are just difficult interfaces, and it's something I would urge you all to do. Go and have a look at Gmail in particular, particularly if you're using all the Google services. For browsing online, you need a browser. Every time you go online, you use a browser. Now, if you're using Windows, then you're using Internet Explorer, whatever its current version is. But there are other browsers around that do better jobs than Internet Explorer, or have better services, have better extensions, add-ons, plugins. So these are the examples of what you can use. Firefox or Safari, and Safari, whilst it's a Mac browser, also works on Windows. Google Chrome, and again, if you're using Google services, this all integrates very well together. Gmail and YouTube, Google Maps, everything Google does culminates with their browser. You can use more than one, so Internet Explorer 9 might be the one that comes on your computer, but you don't necessarily have to use it, or you might use it and use something else as well. Personally, I use Chrome. It's quite a safe one. I also use Safari, occasionally Firefox. The Chrome browser, and you can use it for the Mac, for the PC. It comes in a mobile app as well. There is a link there for the features of Chrome. So again, go to the video description for the link on how to download that document. Adding extensions, and extensions are just programs, small programs, add-ons to make your browsing experience a little bit more easily. And Chrome has quite an extensive list of add-ons, which some of them will be added on in your toolbar, and some of them will be added on every new page that you want to access. You'll find them all there. There's an example of some of the sorts of add-ons that you can get. So if you're using Hotmail, for example, you can actually add that to your Chrome browser as an extension, so you don't have to put the address in all the time. Sort of like favorites, and there's a whole list of categories of different types of extensions, they're called in Chrome. Firefox have what they call add-ons, and they're just extensions, and they have a huge selection of add-ons, extensions that you can just search for. So if you're wanting to get an extension that downloads YouTube videos, you can search for that in games and entertainment in that category, or just in the search bar, find a video downloader and add it. And that would either be available or usually it's available as an add-on that you'll access from a toolbar in Firefox. And there are lots of them, all sorts of things that you can make your browsing experience that much better. Safari have also extensions, not as good a selection as the other two. I've very rarely found anything useful in Safari in terms of extensions, but it's a very good browser nonetheless, particularly if you're a Mac user. It's the basic browser for Mac. And I tend to use that and Chrome as my main browsers. Internet Explorer, it's up to version 10 at the moment, and apparently has been improving. As I'm not a Windows user, haven't used the most recent version, but it's a reasonable browser. I think the other ones are better though. If you want to use a different browser, it's really simple. In a Windows machine, you're going into Internet Explorer, selecting the Tools menu, Internet Options, Programs, there's a link there. And where it says Default Web Browser, just change it there. Tell me if Internet Explorer is not the default browser. You can just deselect that to change the browser you want to use. Otherwise, every time you click on a link, your default browser will be the one that comes up. If you want to change that, install a new browser and then go into Internet Explorer and make sure it's not the default one. For Firefox, if you have a Firefox browser and you want to make that the default, that's the process to do so. Tools options, so you need to be able to access the menus and you can change the default browser. The default, as I said before, is the one that comes up all the time. How do you stay safe online? There are a myriad of scams and people trying to steal your information. Phishing is one of the most increasingly occurring online scams. And again, there's a link up on the top there, so access the document for the links. The phishing emails are very common, trying to trick you into giving access to your computer to a scammer or phishing for your personal information so that they've got you and they can either commit identity fraud or they can keep sending you then malicious software that you click. Phishing emails often come from organisations like your bank or a government agency, and those people will rarely send you information asking you to change your password online. So every time you get something that appears to come from somebody you trust, be very suspicious. Don't respond by clicking on the link and going to what you think is a reputable website, because very often it's not. Senders are phishing for your information so they can use it to commit fraud. And these are some examples of email messages that people may receive. We suspect an unauthorised transaction on your account. And they rely on your fear because they usually say, if you don't give us this information, your accounts will be locked and you won't be able to get into them. If you click on the link, it'll go to what looks like the official website, but it's never that. Never respond to emails. Never click on a link in an email. Copy the link, paste it into your browser, and then go from there, because then you often see where in the header of that link where the true website is going. How do you deal with phishing scams? You delete them. Pure and simple. You don't respond to them. Whatever threats or suggestions they say, don't respond to them. If you're worried, then you actually call on the phone the organisation that's sent you the email and be sure that way. Never reply, never, because then they know they've got a live one. And don't click on links or call the phone numbers in the message. Call the phone number that you have or that you've looked up in a phone book. They're very, very easy to be fooled by phishing scams because they look so real. Don't ever respond. So what are some of the online scams that are going around? So auction and shopping scams. So online auctions, if you regularly participate in those, and they can often be used to try and scam you or target you for a scam that's outside of the auction site, try and get you to actually part with your money and not get anything. Domain name renewal. So if you have a domain name and it's just getting emails that are sent to you to renew them, and they're not actually for your domain. Spam, junk mail offers, a lot of SMS messages, MMS messages, offering free goods or very cheap products. Don't respond to them. I mean, why would someone sell a $200 bag for $20 if it's free and you're being offered a free offer? When did you actually enter a contest? You have to remind yourself, did I enter something for this? Free website access, downloads, holidays. Never supply your credit card or other personal details for free things. Spyware and keylogger. So if you've not been keeping your computer up to date and you've got spyware on there, and I'll talk a bit more about that a little later in this video. Part of the process of getting onto your system is to install a keylogger on your system because it's been compromised, and that records what keys you press and anything you do. Your passwords can be stolen, your online banking passwords, any sort of personal information can be stolen uh, from you. Spotting the scams. If you're not sure that something is a scam, then go onto one of these websites and actually have a look at some of the current scams, or what you can do to protect yourself. How do you stay smart online? And those links again in the document that you'll find in the description on how to download it. Malware. What is malware? It's spyware and viruses all wound up together is all called malware these days. And it's short for malicious software. And it refers to programs that are designed to do damage to your system. And the examples there are the common malware types: viruses and worms, Trojan horses, spyware. There's links all through this section on different types of malware and how to survive them. So I urge you to go to that document. A virus is just a small program, often a script, that can do something to your computer. It can create files, move them, erase files, consume your memory, cause your computer to shut down, or just stop it until you actually pay up some money to remove that virus. Now, you get viruses because your program had not been updated, your operating system, particularly if you've got Windows, you need to update it regularly. Even the Macs, you've got to update your operating system. You may have clicked on a link in an email and that's taken you to a malicious site. There's all sorts of ways you can get viruses on your computer. Downloaded an email which had some code in there. Just visiting a website where your computer's not up to date can get you infected. A worm, computer worms, they tunnel their way through your memory and your hard drive. It replicates itself. So it doesn't alter any files, but it just multiplies and multiplies and create all sorts of problems because it takes up all your memory or your hard disk space. And you get them the same way as you get other malware. Trojan horses are programs. You often get that with a free download of an application. It might come with it. For example, the Real Player, once upon a time, might not happen now, when you would download that, it would come with all these other things, all these other programs that were also free with it. And if you don't read the terms of agreement, then you inadvertently agree to installing extra toolbars, other programs that work in the background. You have to be really careful. A Trojan horse will masquerade as a regular program. They will get access to your system. So if you've got a Trojan on your computer, then hackers have got access to your system, and they're using it as a spam bot, a computer that serves out spam to other computers on the internet, or they've got key logging software on you, or they're doing other things to your system without your knowledge. Spyware usually is looking for your web browsing habits so that it can then send you messages and other information about what you might like to visit. It can also be used to transfer data to another person's computer over the internet, collect your username, your password, your credit card information if you've got spyware. You need to be careful what you click on. And before you click on anything, anytime a message comes up, read it very carefully. Don't just blindly click OK, because once you have, if it's something malicious, you're virtually infected. Let's look at how does an infection start. It starts with a pop-up message, and in this one it says, you should install security software because you've undoubtedly got viruses. And so as soon as you see that, you start to panic and you think, oh, okay, I'm going to install this software. This message comes from a rogue website or malvertisement, but it starts with a simple message. And then it will run a program that says that you have all these spyware files, all these viruses on you, and it holds your computer hostage until you pay their money. It's going to say, these are all the things you've got on here, and unless you pay something, your machine is not going to work. They tell you your PC is infected with fake viruses, and it prevents you from doing anything to remove those viruses. And when you look at that and you look at all these viruses, I've got 24 threats here, according to this, on my system scan, and I'm going to do everything I can to get rid of them. You'll then be presented with a pop-up dialog in the web page that says your PC is infected, and you can click the button to remove all those infections. And that dialog looks real and can even be dragged around the page. So it's in red there, your computer's infected. You've got 23 threats in your My Documents folder, 11 threats in your Shared Documents folder. It gives you your IP address. It gives you all this real-looking information. Looks quite real. And once you've clicked that button, no, I'm going to remove all these viruses. You're invited to click the button, and then you're prompted to run an installer. So as soon as you click that remove all, it downloads the program, which is in effect the spyware. You're downloading spyware. And it has a number of warnings on it as well. So as soon as you click run, you're infected, because it's now going to run an install program which has the Trojan in it, has the virus in it, malware in it. It's in that file, and as soon as you click it, you're infected. And once you've done that, you won't be able to open any applications because you have to buy this program. This program works by extorting money from you. You send them however much it is. This is for Internet Security 2010. It's a well-known rogue program. And unless you pay up, you won't be able to use your computer. You can't remove it from the control panel. Once you're infected, how do you remove malware and viruses? There are removal tools, and there's some links there, and again check the document in the description on how you can remove viruses and malware. But let's face it, the only real way to make sure that you're not infected is reinstall Windows. Reinstall from your original DVD or from a good known source. Update, do all your updates, and there's another link there on an example of how to actually do that, how do you install and reinstall Windows, because it is a fairly long process, but if you've got viruses on there, how do you be sure that you actually have removed them? If you have a Mac, Macs are not immune to malware. They haven't got the market share that Windows has, so there isn't as many viruses written for the Mac. But if you get a problem on your Mac, it's 99.9% chance it's nothing to do with malware. The average Mac user, OS X user, if you do not engage in risky online behaviour, will not need to run antivirus software, even though there are known viruses like the flashback virus. But if you're careful what you do, then you're unlikely to be bothered by viruses on a Mac. You can remove unnecessarily vulnerable applications like Flash and Java, restrict Java in your OS X, and Apple actually have done that in their updates. They've removed Java from the browsers unless you actively put it back. But a Mac's a much safer environments, and you're not bothered by viruses. And there's some links there about simple ways to secure your Mac and ensure that you're not bothered. There are good security habits that you should get into. The biggest problem to getting infected is you and your behaviour. But if you have a Windows machine, and that is the biggest environment, then you need to make sure that you're updating your Windows regularly, that you've enabled or disabled, depending on, again, yourself, automatic updates in Windows 7, so that you don't have to actually remember every week to go and see what's the updates and do I need to install them. Just do it automatically. Have your system up to date. There's some links there to check. Windows is amongst the most patched software in the world, and almost every single week I think they have a Patch Tuesday where they patch all the holes. What are some of the things you need to do in your Windows? In the control panel, system and security, make sure that your firewall is on. They come on by default, but in case it's been turned off, put your firewall on. That's at least going to protect you from within your network. There is a BitLocker drive encryption setting there, and that will encrypt volumes on your hard drive, including your boot drive, your system drive, and even removable media like Windows, like USB drives. Uh, and then download Windows Security Essentials, which is the free Microsoft version of Virus Checker, Spyware Checker. Have that, install it. It doesn't come with the Windows system, but download it and install it. If you're not going to pay for one, this is one of the best free ones. So tips and advice for staying secure. Passwords. So you need a really strong password because it's your first defense against the cyber criminal. And you should pick a different password for each of your accounts and change them regularly. Because if one account is compromised and you're using the same password, it's not going to be difficult to find and access all your other accounts. So they need to be unique and long, a mix of characters. Change them regularly. You must have a strong password. Phishing, so you don't get stung by a phishing attack, always take a second look at an email and pay close attention to all the sign-in screens that you see online. Don't respond to anything that's asking for your personal information or referring to you to a web page asking you for those details. It's very easy to come up with a web page that looks like the eBay login page, for example. Very easy to do, but it's not real. Don't trust anything in an email that looks suspicious. Even email from people you know can contain links because their contacts can be completely corrupted, and it's sending you out regularly emails from this person which have links in them. I'm getting them all the time from somebody I know whose machine has not been patched. Be careful when you follow links in an email. Never click them as a habit. Don't click a link in an email and just go to that. Enter that address for that website directly in your browser, because that'll get you into the real site. Be careful where you go online, particularly if you're in an internet cafe or one of the free wireless hotspots, because all traffic in those areas can be monitored, and that can be collecting your information. For example, if you're going and you're at McDonald's in the free Wi-Fi and that's not encrypted, so all of your information, if you don't have encrypted accounts, all your passwords are going through in a clear space, if you like. Anyone can see them, and they can be monitoring you with a simple bit of software just sitting there in the same place you are, monitoring all the information that's been going around them. Have your Wi-Fi secure. So use a password to secure your Wi-Fi, a password that should be securing your router so that anybody can't access your network. Don't leave the password that's provided by the ISP or the router manufacturer. Set your own and use very strong encryption, the WPA2 standard. Don't be click happy. You can be just clicking away and not knowing where you're going. If you want to know where the site is, just hover your mouse over a link so you can look at the address before you click something. Keep your firewall, keep your antivirus up to date. And beware of social engineering attacks. Cyber criminals are scouring social media sites every day. So if you're on Facebook, if you're on Twitter, they're gathering information about you. Stay on guard. It's very easy to get sucked in without really knowing. This section is going to look at backup and maintenance. And how do you actually make sure and keep your machine running at its optimum best? Why do you need backup? Computers aren't perfect, and files definitely can become corrupt. You can have hardware failure, motherboard malfunctions. The CPU calls it quits, and it takes all your data with it. And so unless you have a backup, everything that's just on that computer will be gone. And a backup can mean the difference between a slight setback where you can get back and restore your data quite simply, or living through your own electronic apocalypse where everything is gone, and that could be heartbreaking. It's the most important computer term that you need to know. What does it actually mean to have a backup? It's a copy of one or more files created as an alternative in case your original is lost becomes corrupt and therefore unusable. And here's a rule you should follow. The 3-2-1 rule. Keep 3 copies of any important file. So you have your primary file on your main computer, and you have 2 backups of that one file. And those backups need to be on 2 different media types. So you might have one backup on a hard drive, one backup on a DVD that you've burned, to protect against different types of hazards. There is no point having your backup sitting on a hard drive next to your machine. Have a copy off-site or online somewhere. Use the cloud, and we'll look at that a little bit later, on storing some of your backups on a cloud service. But you must have 3 copies of a backup, and don't delete them, and then you've only got your one main file. 3-2-1 rule, it's a good one to follow. A backup device, what do you actually back up your data on? The DVD used to be the backup medium of choice, but that's been quickly surpassed by the external hard drive, which can come in capacities up to 3.5 terabytes. The flash drive is good for backup files on the go, perhaps. So if you're needing to do an assignment for school or a presentation, you can create it on your computer, back it up to the flash drive. But it's not a good permanent device. The DVD only has 4.7 gigabyte capacity, which is not a lot. If you've got a 1 terabyte hard drive and you're wanting to back up 500 gigabytes of that, that's going to take a lot of DVDs. Flash drives are just not good for permanent storage or large-scale storage because they fail quite regularly. The CD, which preceded the DVD, only holds 700 megabytes. I wouldn't even bother with it. The USB flash capacity, it holds up to 128 gigabytes, but they're unreliable, those devices, and they're prone to failure. The external hard drive holds quite a lot of data, and you can get them in USB, USB 3, USB 2, you can get them in FireWire. They come with backup software, often included with them. If you have a network, the best way of backing up is to get a network attached storage, a NAS, and they're just simply hard drives that have an Ethernet connection, which allows you to use the blue network cable, the RJ45 cable, patch cable, to connect into your router so that everyone on your network can update and back up their files to the NAS unit. You can have combinations. What I have is a combination of NAS units and external hard drives and cloud storage. Save it to Dropbox, save it to Google Drive, save somewhere offline as well. But DVDs, in the short term, go for a hard drive or a NAS drive. In the back of the router, this is where you would put a NAS unit. The network attached storage, the example there is an LG drive. The blue cable, the network cable, often called a patch cable, connected from one end goes into the back of the hard drive, which has an Ethernet port, and the other end goes into the router, which also has a number of Ethernet ports. And that drive now is available to any device in your home network because they can all see whatever is on the router. They can all share files and save files to that NAS device, and it's a good backup device. It's always on. This router is an example of the Apple AirPort Extreme, which also has a USB port. So in that USB port, you could actually connect a USB hard drive, and that would become available, and if anyone on the network would be able to save files to that, and you can share it, and each user can have their own part of that USB drive. Ensure it's gigabit Ethernet, and most routers are these days, but get the appropriate Cat6 cable or Cat5e cable, which makes gigabit transfer of data. This is just an example of a NAS drive. This one is a 1 terabyte drive, and those drives often come with other servers. So it has an iTunes server, for example. So you could put your iTunes library on the NAS drive and share that out, stream out all the media to anything that's attached to that network. They come with different sorts of servers, and they also come with backup software as well. Each NAS has its own Ethernet connection, which connects into a switch port on the back of the router. That information on that NAS is available to any computer that is on the same network. even remotely. With a NAS drive, no computer needs to be on to be able to see the drive and what media it holds. With large media libraries these days on a computer, a NAS is the perfect way to hold and store all that media. So your iTunes library, all of your DVD collection or movies, TV shows can be stored on the NAS and accessible over the home network to be streamed to network media player like Apple TV or WD Live TV or Boxy Box, to a smart TV that's been connected to the network. It can read it. Any network-enabled Blu-ray players, any other computer can read all the media that's stored on a network-attached storage. They also come with software that will back up your computer or specific files to that device. So you can add to your media library without using up all of the memory on your hard drive. So 1 terabyte drive that's on your uh, hard drive on a computer can easily be filled up, but you don't want to fill it up with all your movies. Put all the movies into your NAS box. You don't have to leave computers on. It's just on all the time, updating itself. Anybody can access it. As well as backup regime that you have on your computer with your 321 process, the part of that would be getting some offline backup. So there are 3 sites there, Carbonite and Mosey and CrashPlan, which allow you to back up all your data. Off-site, they continually backing up, so you just indicate what folders and volumes you want backed up, and that will do it automatically. There are mobile apps for each of those 3, so you can actually access all your files from a mobile device. There's a link there to more backup services, but they particularly the one I use, CrashPlan, is a really good unlimited data, depending on the plan you get, as many computers as you want. It is a really good way of backing up off-site. So if my computer dies and my hard drive backup also disappears, I have an online backup stored up in the cloud off-site that I can restore my information with. Computer maintenance, as well as backup, you should also do a little bit of maintenance on your system weekly, monthly, annually. And simply a definition of it means it's a set of procedures that you perform to keep your computer in good working condition. If you do that, it will be run faster, more efficiently, crash less than if you haven't done any maintenance to your computer at all. So what general maintenance means is to keep all of your working files in one folder. So if you've got a Windows machine, the My Documents folder is used expressly for that purpose. It keeps all your files in one place, and you know where they are. And you also can back them up more efficiently because they're all in the one folder. And for the third reason, your machine is going to run faster. Don't put all of your personal files in the root of the C drive. If you store a large number of files in the root folder, you could corrupt your disk. Any personal files, move them into the My Documents folder and have a folder inside that for documents. Uninstall programs that you're not using. You need to remove programs the right way in a Windows machine. So you go to the Start Control panel, add or remove Windows, don't just delete them. In a Mac machine, you can just delete them, but there are uninstall programs also that will uninstall them correctly. If you download a zip file, and a lot of files do come zipped up, compressed, because they're too large, delete the original file when you're done, so you don't have a whole lot of extra files that aren't being used. You've unzipped it, you've extracted the contents, delete the original zip file. You don't need it anymore. Store your hardware drivers and any software installer files in another place, not on the actual hard drive. So put them into a USB, put them into a NAS, put them onto a flash drive. A flash drive is good for that. So if you need to reinstall them, you have the actual installer file. You don't have to go and find where you purchased it from. You don't have to go to the website. But it's not very efficient to have it in the hard drive of the computer that it's installed on. Use a surge protector. plug your computer and peripherals into it, so in case there is some peak in the electricity, you're not during a storm, for example, you're not going to burn out your motherboard. And don't accept software or downloads that you didn't ask for, because they could be just vessels for viruses and malware. If you know where it's come from and you're expecting it, that's a different matter. Delete any suspicious emails without opening it as part of your general maintenance. So when you're looking in your email, anything that comes in that you didn't ask for, you don't know the person, or the title's a bit dodgy, delete it. Don't open it, because if you open it, you're asking for trouble. Don't open any email attachments with those extensions, particularly .exe, because that's going to it's an installer program. But anything like that comes in the mail, don't open it. Weekly and monthly maintenance. Make sure your antivirus and anti-spyware programs have been updated with the latest definitions, and run a full scan from both of them once a week, once a month, to make sure that you have got no viruses. Rebooting your computer as a maintenance. If you don't ever turn your computer off, then now and again, maybe once a week, once a month, shut it down completely. Reboot it, and then let everything reset. Let the RAM reset, so that things can, all the log files can close themselves off, can write information back to the hard drive. Your computer will run much better, and it'll run much faster. So at least once a week, shut it down. Backing up. So you need to have a backup strategy. So once a week on a Sunday is when I do all my backups and system image files. And I back up my user files, my documents, my movies, my pictures to the external drive or to the NAS, and then I do a system image. I've got, if you have a Windows computer, you make sure you have the latest Windows updates installed. So have them set to automatic, so that every Tuesday, whenever the updates come in, they will update on your system and you'll have an up-to-date system. Clean up your temp files. So you've got temporary internet files, you've got junk files, you've got download files that you don't need anymore. Delete them all. Once a week, once a month. Have some sort of timeline where you do these tasks. Clean out your emails. If you go into your email, there is emails that you don't need anymore in your inbox. Go into your sent box and delete the emails. Into the downloads folder of the email and delete any attachments. Clean it all out once a month, once a week. Update your hard drive's image. An image is when you do a bit-for-bit copy. So everything on that hard drive, all your applications, your settings, your programs, your files, everything is copied to an image, like a picture of your hard drive. And you can save that image onto an external drive or a NAS. Then if your computer fails, you can restore it using the image, and you don't have to reinstall everything manually. If you're going to do that, there is software available that will help you do that. There's some links there, so check the document in the description. The Mac has a free system image software called SuperDuper, and for the PC there's an example of one that I have used called Acronis, and they will do a bit-for-bit copy, a backup image. In Windows 7 you can actually create a backup image for free within Windows 7, and there's a link to how you do that there.